What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. So the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell has admitted that more banks are about to crash. And I'll let you hear some of his comments here, and I'll show you some of the headlines that are coming out here. And a lot of this has to do with what is actually a lot of people aren't really aware of this. Actually, the commercial side of banking and the commercial side is what's going to be coming due here going forward, and a lot of interest rate risk. Now, a lot of the from the three massive U.S. banks that have already failed here this year was due to interest rate risk and what their investments were in. Okay. And now the Fed has paused interest rates for this one time, but has already signaled that there could be or probably will be at least two more interest rate hikes later this year. So even though they paused for now, there's still probably or could be more interest rates hikes coming this year. And even if that doesn't happen, which is there's probably a good bet that there will be some more interest rate hikes coming, which raises the interest rate hikes on credit cards, mortgages, mortgage-backed securities, home loans, personal loans, car loans, every type of everything, right? It costs Americans more, it costs banks more, it costs the US government more, it costs everybody more money, including banks, including you, including anybody that has a loan for new loans coming out. If you go to buy a car, lease a car, take out a new mortgage, or if you have something coming up for renewal, if you have an adjustable rate mortgage or anything along those lines, if you have credit cards, those can be changed at any given time. Chances are your credit card interest rates have gone up over the course of the last several months, probably multiple times. If you haven't been checking your credit card rates, you probably should, because they've probably gone up multiple times. And this is why banks are suffering here as well, because their interest rates are going up as well. And the things that they're investing on have probably plummeted if they invest in things like US Treasuries and interest sensitive things. So I'll show you some headlines here. Yeah, you can see a couple of different things here. Office delinquency rates jump by the most in almost 5 years. As more leases expires, companies are looking to reduce space. So very, very tough markets. And the people that are going to be hurt the most, actually, maybe I can't say people, but are going to be the banks. And ultimately, maybe the people that invest in banks or have money in banks, right? And you can also see here delinquent office loans at 5-year highs, trouble commercial mortgage bond markets. And ultimately, this falls back to the banks. That's why we're seeing multiple billion-dollar, hundreds of billion-dollar banks fail already just in the first half of this year. And the Fed says more trouble here yet to come. Take a listen to what Jerome Powell, this is just one of the excerpts he's had to say here. Take a listen to what he has to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark Hamrick with Bankrate. Wondering what your thoughts are now about systemic risk now that we're about 3 months past the failure of Silicon Valley Bank, and also specifically, what are the risks associated with commercial real estate as well as non-bank financials, and could you further elevate those risks with higher still rates, possibly for longer?
So we're trying to think where to start. I'll start with commercial real estate. Of course, we're watching that situation very carefully. There's a substantial amount of commercial real estate in the banking system. A large part of it is in smaller banks. It's well distributed. To the extent it's well distributed, then the system could take losses. We do expect that there'll be losses. But there'll be banks that have concentrations, and those banks will experience larger losses. So we're well aware of that. We're monitoring it carefully. It feels like something that will be around for some time, as opposed to something that will suddenly hit and work its way into systemic risk. In terms of non-bank financial sector, there's been a ton of work, and clearly in the pandemic, it really was it was the non-bank financial sector where issues really arose, and there's a lot of work going on with the administration, in particular, leading that to try to address issues in the treasury market and in all kinds of areas in the non-bank financial market. But our jurisdiction at the Fed is over banks, actually bank holding companies and some banks. So that's really our main focus. In terms of the events of March, as I mentioned earlier, we will be carefully monitoring that situation. Our job generally involves worrying about a lot of things that may go wrong, and that would include the banks. It might be hard for me to identify something that we don't worry about rather than that we do worry about. So we're watching those things very carefully. And as we see things unfold, as we see what's happening with credit conditions and also all the individual banks that are out there, we'll be able to take, to the extent it's appropriate, we can take, if there are macroeconomic implications, we can take that into account in our rate setting. And so I guess that's what I would say.
Can I just follow up on the last part? That's, do you risk further exacerbating those issues if you get up to another 50 basis points?
So that's, and I guess I meant to address that by saying, as we watch, we'll see what's happening, and if we're seeing the kind of tightening of conditions that you could be referring to, then we can factor that, because really we use our rate tool it really has macroeconomic purposes, so we'll take that into account. Of course, we have responsibility for financial stability as well, and that also is a factor that we're always going to be considering. Thank you very much.
So what do you say there? There will be losses, and they'll be around for some time, for a while. So this is what he's preparing us for, even more going forward. And just think about what these interest rates, massive interest rate hikes. There's been like 10 or 11 of them so far, just in this, recent interest rate hike period that is, has the recent one here, obviously not going back, to the past, has started here. We've had, lots of jobs lost. Senator Elizabeth Warren read through his notes and said that they're predicting, the Fed is predicting 2 million plus jobs losses to come just from the interest rate hikes. Okay. We're now seeing the US dollar drop because once they stop raising interest rates, the US dollar will drop. This is what they're predicting. Okay. And we're already starting to see it happen. Okay. So now we're going to see that happen. We've seen mortgage rates more than double, go from under 3% to 7%. This is costing the average American thousands of dollars, well, maybe $1,000 more per month for anybody that had to get a 6-7% interest rate. It's just costing Americans more money pretty much everywhere. Credit card interest rates at all-time highs. The average credit card interest rate around 20% now. The highest interest rates at 35% if you got bad credit or you're in a bad situation. The U.S. government now spending around $1 trillion per year in interest, just interest alone. $1 trillion in interest, just poof, right out the air. Yeah, just gone, vanished, right? So who is being benefited by these higher interest rates? Go ahead, and I'll let you answer that question in the comment section. Yeah, not very many people. Not very many people. The only people that are really benefiting are like people that are investing in CDs and maybe some money market accounts. Yeah. So it's really not looking good. Food prices still near all-time highs. I don't know if they'll ever come down. The Saudis and OPEC Plus have cut about 3 million barrels per day to keep gas prices as artificially high as possible. Even though oil prices have drifted down, they're trying their damnedest to keep it higher than what it really would be. They've cut oil production by 3 million barrels per day. I mean, they're really, really trying to keep oil prices higher than what they should be. I mean, so look at all the economic conditions that the US and the world is fighting against. I mean, we're still fighting against a pandemic virus. It's not like it's gone away. Who knows how many more mutations will be, or who knows what will be next? I mean, you think about all the old ones. I mean, we think about like the Zika virus, Ebola, AIDS, the list goes on, right? It's not like this one will be the last. Who knows what will be next? It's a never ending chain of events. And God help us, God bless us. Now we have to deal with massively high interest rates, and they're not done. They're not done. They're saying there's going to be more this year, as if the economic pain wasn't enough. What are we supposed to do? Let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button to our YouTube channel down below right now so you don't miss out on any new videos. It's completely free to do so. I'll keep you up to date here. And also, thanks so much for liking and sharing our videos. Here's some videos you should watch next. The Fed and the Treasury have big news for you. And Russia just confirmed that there will be a U.S. nuclear strike. You can see their announcement here. Click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.